when you feel like giving up. Um, what do you do? What do you do? And I just wanted to kind of take a step back from this and think, right, what is motivation? What is discipline? Um, how do we stay on track when we've got these emotions? We're human beings. We've got these emotions, haven't we? And these emotions sometimes seem to control us into doing the things that almost like the brain wants us to do, and we want to do something. We've got this vision and we've got these goals, but we've got these kind of thoughts and feelings which are stopping us from doing those things. It's self sabotage at the end of the day, and one of the ways that self sabotage manifests is through procrastination. And procrastination is one of those things where you can look back on your day. You can get to the end of the day. Let's say you get to 7 p.m. or something, and you think, "What have I done today? What did I end up actually doing?" I had this to do list of things to do. Just looking at my planner now, I had all these things that I wanted to tick off today, and what have I actually got done? Now I'm recording this video. What time are we on? 10 to 11 on a Tuesday. Yeah, I'm a full-time business owner. I don't have a job. Um, I'm pushing forward to scale a digital marketing agency, and I'm launching a course to supplement that as well, to help small business owners who want to film their own video content as well. So I'm going to be running an agency and also building this community as well to supplement that. There's synergy with that, because I often get asked from some clients, well, which camera do I get, Michael? Which microphone do I get? What lighting do I get? So I'm creating a DIY offer, creating a do-it-yourself offer, which can supplement what I'm doing. Because some people cannot afford to the done for you service that I provide. So I'm kind of expanding and opening up that avenue for me, that way of that extra drip of cash flow, basically, the extra revenue stream. So that's one of the things that I'm doing anyway. So how do I stay motivated with that? The thing is, I like money, and I unashamedly like money, and it's not necessarily the things that it can buy. It's the peace of mind that it can provide you with. It's the freedom to not have a boss, really, to not have to ask to take an holiday, to not have to phone in sick if I'm not feeling great that day, not to not have to think about how many sick days I've taken already in the year, and I might you know get in trouble for having too many sick days, or whatever, and things like that, and to really work as my true self, to really work in an optimized way, and it's not chaotic, and that's the thing, that when people go into business, to think it's going to be this do whatever you feel like doing that day, and that's the thing. It's more like you've got to create your own structure to work within, and really you've got a lot more responsibility, because yourself you're managing yourself, you're leading yourself. Stephen Covey talks about this in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. You've got to be able to self lead before you can lead others. So lead yourself, which is very, very important. So it's not a chaotic thing. In fact, when human beings get into a point of chaos where they don't have structure, that's when, in my opinion, things start to go wrong. You can start to get depressing thoughts and things like that. It says in the Bible that the devil makes work for idle hands. So the devil will put ideas in your brain, in your mind. You know, if you're not filling your time with stuff. Now the thing is, when you start a business, let's say you want to start a business, you want to start, I don't know, any kind of business. You want to be an accountancy business, bookkeeping, creative business, anything like that, AI marketing, whatever you want to do, scaffolding company, garden design company, whatever it is. You're going to have structure in your day. Now, the thing is, motivation. I did a video on this a good while ago, actually. Difference between motivation and discipline. They're two completely different things, and I think they're often kind of used. The terms are used, though the words are used interchangeably, and it is, in my opinion, incorrect. So motivation is what you're used to get going. You get yourself motivated, and you feel like doing it, and you know you're raring to go. You know, when you've ever been to a seminar and I love multi-level marketing. I'm not into it myself, but I've kind of dabbled. And I love the multi-level marketing. You go to one of the hotels, a seminar, and you get all fired up. And I remember doing that and reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and stuff like that. It's great. So you get it all fired up, and that's motivation. But then a few days or a few weeks in, you start to think, well, this is a bit boring actually. What I'm doing, I keep doing this thing. And even though you're creating systems and processes, you're using other people's time and all that kind of thing, that motivation can start to wane. So motivation is that initial kind of energy burst that you get, and it can last a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, or whatever. But it's the discipline, it's the ability to give yourself a command and actually do the thing that is gonna actually change your life. And I'm talking from personal experience here. Like, when I've ever felt a lack of drive in a particular area, and we've got to have balance as well. We have got to have balance, and I don't like the phrase work-life balance, but I believe in having balance in all areas of life. So fitness, faith, family, finance, and just making sure that it's well rounded, because we've got different kind of bank accounts. We've got an emotional bank account with our girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, spouse, fiance, whatever. And there's only so much that somebody close to you can take. When you're really pushing forward in your business, and you're giving. And the thing is, like, a significant other doesn't really understand, unless they're in the business with you, doesn't understand that it's actually going to work. In fact, a lot of the time, you don't understand yourself if it's going to work with the business. You're like, look, we're all kind of here just it's kind of uncharted territory, isn't it? Yeah. And a lot of it is, I always say that business is 95% mindset. So to stay motivated when you feel like giving up, the first step for me, if I wake up feeling, look, I feel well, but I can't be bothered today. I just don't want to do it. I just the first thing is, what do you actually need to do that day? Can you actually take an unscheduled day off? Would you actually be more productive in the grand scheme of things, or is that going to be a slippery slope? So that's the first thing. So that might be contrary to a lot of kind of other YouTube videos you've watched, or other videos on social media. Somebody says, actually, well, if you don't feel like it today, actually take a day off. Actually have, they used to call it at university, a duvet day. I remember a lecturer saying that, duvet day. So can you actually take a day off? Now, the thing is, that could be a slippery slope to whenever you feel like that, and your subconscious is telling you that, that you're going to have a day off, and then you're going to end up having so many days off, and you're not going to have a business. So just be wary of that. But I think most of the time you can push through that and actually get some stuff done. Now, the main thing is, the number one thing in any business, in anybody who wants to be a productive individual, is to plan tomorrow today. So planning tomorrow today, just like Sam Ovens says, plan tomorrow today, it's just so important to actually have a plan, because it kind of 2x's something in your mind. So one of the ways to keep motivated when you feel like giving up is actually to have a plan and actually stick to that plan, because then the discipline can take over even when your motivation starts to wane. So very, very, very important to do that. Another thing is actually to just get up early, right? Now, if you've only had 4 hours sleep because you're tossing and turning, and if you don't need to get up, what I would say, still get up at the same time within a 45-minute window. So what would be my 45-minute window? I believe for the circadian rhythm, from what I've researched, and videos I've watched and all that kind of thing. So for example, Andrew Huberman, he talks about the circadian rhythm, getting sunlight in and all that kind of thing. I might be butchering this, but there's a 45-minute window. I'm not even sure if that's from Huberman, but this 45-minute window basically, of, let's say you go to bed at 9:30 p.m. every evening, you get up at, I don't know, 6 a.m. You've basically got some leeway there, so you can go. You've got a 45-minute window either way. So you've got, if it's 9:30, go to bed, then you can go to bed as early as 8:45 or as late as 10:15 and still stay within that kind of, your body clock and all that kind of stuff. And then if you usually go up at 6:30 a.m., you've got some leeway there, 45 minutes either way. So you've got 5:15 in the morning, or you've got 6:45. Yeah. So you've got that leeway. So if you can stick within that, and whatever works for you. So it could be you get up at 8 a.m. Now the thing is, some people have got certain commitments, so they work, different schedules and stuff like that. And there's something in the UK called the continental shift, I think it's called. Back when I were working in factories, when I were quite young, like early 20s, I never did actually a continental shift, but I remember my dad talking about continental shifts, where it's like 1 week you could be doing a morning, which might be a 6 a.m. 2 p.m, and then you might be doing a 2 10, so an after shift, afters they call it, and then you might be doing a nights. So nights could be like 7:30, I don't know, 4:30 or 6:30 a.m. or something like that. But if we're talking about that kind of splitting the day with continentals, that might have been 10 p.m. or to 6 a.m. So you can see how that all kind of joins up, and that one employee might have been expected to do all those kind of things, and that really causes two things. It can cause depressing thoughts, so depression, and it can cause constipation as well. Those two things. I remember somebody telling me that. So I'm not a medical doctor, so feel free to pop a comment in and debunk what I'm saying with that kind of thing. But that's just from my experience and what people have told me they've experienced. It stands to reason, doesn't it? If you get up at the same time every day and you go to bed at the same time every day, then you're going to feel better. Your body's going to be more used to it. And if you think about how as human beings, we're kind of before alarm clocks and stuff like that, how we would have lived. We would have woken up when the sun were coming up. So I think that creates the cortisol, so the stress hormone, to wake us up, and then there's a melatonin, when there's less light, and that's why people use blue light blockers and stuff like that. So despite this tangent, I'm coming to a point here. I'm kind of going around the houses, as they say, and stuff like that. But if you want to stay motivated, one of the pillars is, like I mentioned before, if you want to be productive and feel good about what you're doing and not feel like giving up, why would you feel like giving up? It's when you've got no hope. You've got no hope that things are going to get better. So you might be just having a bad week or a bad day or a bad month or a bad few months. But the thing is, in business or in anything, you're going to have some difficult times. That's inevitable in life. You're going to have some difficult times. So number one is planning tomorrow today. But I think sleep is one of the most important things, and it's part of fitness. So it's part of what I talk about is having fitness, faith, your family, finance sorted out, those pillars of your life, that is the true, that's really work-life balance, isn't it? It's the balance between if you're working too much and you're not looking after your body, so your fitness, and I include like so health, fitness, mind, body, spirit, soul, all the usual stuff really, being in alignment. This is the key to it. So if you want to be more productive, you've got to look after your body, because they say healthy body, healthy mind. Yeah. But if you're not getting into a routine, and usually people start to people start to fall, people start to lose the businesses when they haven't got a routine, and that for me is one of the most important things. In the army, people have a routine, so they know what they're doing, so they're getting into the swing of things. So once the motivation's gone, they've got the discipline. Yeah. Armed forces big into discipline. So very, very important to plan tomorrow today, so you've got structure, and to also get proper sleep. Now these guys will get up at, I don't know, 4 a.m. They're going to bed earlier. If you get up at 6 a.m., you're going to bed earlier. So this burning the candle at both ends, it's one of the worst things. If you're borrowing from tomorrow's kind of energy bank, so consider yourself like an energy bank. You've got energy flowing into you, and you're keeping it within you, and you're preserving energy, and you're keeping some energy for, in case there's an emergency and stuff like that. You're not depleting it. You're not running on empty all the time, or you're just not going to be productive. So if you're trying to run on very little sleep and very little energy, and you're not eating right, and you're eating junk food, you're eating processed food, you're not going to have a successful business. You're not going to have the mindset. You're not going to be working optimally. We're like it's like putting the right fuel into the car, but it goes so much more beyond just getting up at the same time, going to bed at the same time every day. It goes so much more beyond planning tomorrow today. For me, it's about doing things like guided meditation, transcendental meditation. So I'm getting sleep, and REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, does so much. It only does so much. But if you want to be really optimal and really really kind of cutting edge in what you're doing, so above average basically, and don't let anybody tell you. Some people, when you're really leveling up in your life, they'll say, "Oh, I prefer. I don't know who you are anymore. I prefer the old version. Can't you just, come out to?" It's like I don't drink alcohol anymore. So, and you'll end up having different friends. If you do anything like that. If you really change something that you used to do. But the thing is, you're the sum of the 5 people who you're around most of the time. So if let's say you're hanging around with 5 people who drink too much, you're probably going to drink too much. 5 people who go out, a few times a week, you're probably going to end up going out a few times a week and get kind of peer pressure, and that's going to be your lifestyle. So if you really want to make a change, kind of unfortunately, but fortunately as well, because this is all comes into what you're going to sacrifice. You're probably going to end up hanging around with new people. So there's kind of different people at different levels, if you know what I mean, and you kind of don't know what you don't know. So it's kind of this unconscious ignorance of what you don't know. But then when you become conscious of what you don't know, then there's a gap in between what you know, and actually then embedding that as an habit. So best way of explaining that is, let's say you've got a big goal, and then you've got kind of your existing paradigm or your subconscious. So goal here, subconscious. What you've got to kind of do is every day start working as the future version of yourself. So what would you need to become to get to this next level in business, for example? And this can help to keep you moving forward. Basically, it all relates back to this thing of how do you stay motivated, How do you stay disciplined when things get tough? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay disciplined when you feel like giving up? Why do you feel like giving up? Because it's overwhelming, because you feel that there's no hope. You feel like you're doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results, which is, as Einstein says, the definition of insanity. But let's get back to this point. So you've got goals up here. You want to change. You want to become 2.0 version of yourself. And then you've got your existing paradigm, which wants to keep you in your comfort zone, right? So the thing is, there's a gap here. You're aware now of what you want to do, and you might have a vague idea how to get there as well. So you might get a coach, and you might be following a blueprint to get here, but you're still your old self, because you've not proven, you've not literally rewritten that programming yet. Yeah. But I'm going to say you haven't proven to your old self that you can do it. So you haven't built the confidence. Yeah. So you do that with baby steps. You do that by doing inputs every day, consistent inputs, and then gradually your old self starts to be no more. Yeah. And then your new self is a reality. Yeah. So you hit that goal, and then what happens is you want to become a 2.0 version of yourself. You're already a 2.0 version of yourself now. You want to level up again and become a 3.0 version of yourself. So why do you want to do that? And a lot of people stay at this 2.0 version of yourself, and that's probably arbitrary, because let's say I work with some clients and they've got to a certain income level, and they really don't want to change, and they've kind of lost the fire in the belly, and they've got to that level, and that's absolutely fine, and that's fine for them. But some of them actually want to get to that next level. So what have they got to do? They've got to become 3.0 version of the self. So the old self here. So this is 2.0 version, 3.0 version. So if you think about it like that, and then you start to align. So how do you do that? We've all got self-limiting beliefs to work through, or most of us have, unless you've been brought up, completely by people who are like the person you want to become, if that makes sense. So let's say you want to be a billionaire, you'll be brought up by a billionaire. You want to be a millionaire, you'll be brought up by a millionaire, and they've taught you. They've probably still got some things to work on, and everybody's got something to work on throughout their life. I'm not saying that's the that's the apex, or the the pinnacle or anything like that, but people want different things, and in order to stay motivated, we've got to have some kind of desire to change. Now, the thing is, when things get really tough, we've got to rely on our why. So our why is basically, and what I say is, kind of forget about the how you're going to do it, and focus on the actual, the why. The big dream. And when I say about having a big dream, I'm not necessarily talking about, because I don't necessarily believe in doing what you love, because we've got to make money, basically, as long as it's legal, ethical, moral. We've got to make money. Yeah. So you can absolutely love, and I'll give you an example from my own life, like playing guitar or something like that, because I wanted to be a rock star, and became a businessman, became an entrepreneur, but I wanted for a while to be a rock star, and that didn't happen. And the thing is, it's a lot more likely actually to make money as a business person than it is as a rock star. So that's kind of like my example of why it's not necessarily do what you love and the money will follow. It's actually find something that you're good at, which plays to your strengths, and then get other people to complement, and they've got strengths that kind of fill in the gaps with your weaknesses, and then you create good team dynamics and all that kind of thing, and you grow a company. So having like good people around you to advise you, to help you with things, to take monotonous tasks off you like VAs and stuff like that is what I'm all about. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not a believer in do what you initially think that your passion is, if that makes sense, because I actually, and this is the funny thing I think as I ponder this, I get a lot more satisfaction out of what I do now than what I did, with with the music. And actually, I use the music and the rhythm in things like video editing. So they say that people who are good at music, they're good in that. So it's almost like a skill set that you're bringing in, but you kind of using it in a different way, and you come to a point of I use the word resilient. You kind of coming to a point where you kind of learning along the way, and you're thinking that those experiences I had, those weren't kind of, I didn't fail there, even though I did fail, but I didn't quit. So that's where the learning comes in. So what it comes down to is, look, what it all boils down to, everything I'm saying in this video is, if you feel like giving up at any point in your life, then take a step back. Almost you can take a step back as a third person on your life, and you can think, look, what have I got? What am I grateful for? And I recommend doing daily gratitude, and then make sure that you start to fix things that you can fix. What can you control? Can you tidy your room? Can you dust? Can you throw out some things that are maybe junk now? Have you got a box that adds something in it, and it's now serves no purpose, and you can throw it away, recycle it, that kind of thing, or you can upcycle it into something else. Can you make something out of it? Can you repurpose it or whatever? And then you start to chip away at different things. What can I control in my life? You can't, unless you're a politician, you can't control the world, but you can do something in your own life. It says in the Bible, I'm probably butchering this, but your cup must overflow before you help other people. Kind of paraphrasing that, but you know what I mean. So you've got to help yourself first. So that's when I talk about fitness family. Fitness has got to come before anything, because if you're not fitting yourself, you're not fit and healthy, looking after yourself, your mind, body, spirit, then you're not going to be able to help anybody else. You're going to be kind of less use yourself. In fact, somebody could end up having to look after you if you burn yourself out too much and you can't, and you've pushed yourself too hard in one of the areas. You can do it if you say when you go to the gym, go too hard at the gym, you don't have rest in between, and you can end up with an injury and stuff like that. Then you can't do anything. So I'm all into consistency, every day, and I'm not saying work Saturday, Sunday. I mean, maybe work 6 days or something like that. I definitely believe in having a day off, and a day off for me is usually a Sunday. But I would say consistency every day that you're working, consistency in the little habits. Let's say you go on holiday, you go away, still go up at the same time, and keep a routine, because routine is big for me. Routine that helps to avoid the chaos. What you don't want to do as an entrepreneur, what you don't want to do as a business person, is kind of do what you want, as in what. And when I say that, I said do what your subconscious wants you to do, and that can get you back into bad habits. So you can't do whatever you want. You've got to follow a routine, and the routine's got to be part of the plan to work towards the future version of yourself. Because look, business is really just one big personal development exercise. Really, if you think about it, it's just one big expansion of yourself. It's becoming better, learning, implementing, looking for the good in the challenges, and we're going to get challenges. So when you're feeling this feeling of, well, what's the point now? I've been doing this a while and I'm not really getting any further. If you put it in, and this is where the critical thinking comes in, and it being introspective really, are you actually measuring what you're doing? This is key. So because there's a kind of what you want, and then there's what you're actually doing, and a lot of people aren't even honest with themselves. So I'm not saying this is necessarily the case with viewers watching this, but do you ever write something down in a day and just don't do it? Be honest. Do you write? Let's say you write 3 to 5 things down every day that you need to get done in your business, or in whatever work you do if you're employed, and you don't get it done. What I were always taught is, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Now, at certain points in my life, I've pushed too hard in the day, and I've kind of borrowed from tomorrow, and I've kind of got that wrong. I've got that a bit literally. I've taken that a bit literally, and then thought, right, how many hours have I got in a day? How many hours sleep do I need? Let's just push, and let's just work, and let's just do it. And then I've not ended up being productive. This is where the planning tomorrow today comes into it. This all ties in. It's about having the fitness, so that you can make good decisions, so that you understand what is actually going on in your life. So, are you a busy fool? Because what I found when I used to work for somebody else is that a lot of the people around me, they literally just worked. They did productive work 2 hours a day out of the 8 hours. Literally, they did like, and some people, some managers might say, well, I'm working while I'm speaking to people and I'm building rapport and I'm doing this. Yeah, that's true. But a lot of the time, people are really just not getting productive work done. And how do you know when you're getting productive work done? Tim Ferriss says this really well. It always resonates with the 4-hour work week. And I read this early on in business. I've been in business how many years? 16 years, since 2009. And I read this book early on. One of the first kind of paradigm shifts that I had with business, really. And it was, how do you really prioritize? And I've been asked this in job interviews, how do you prioritize? And the answer is, it's based on impact and results. How do you actually prioritize? Because everything's a priority. I need to get everything done, but what's going to move the needle? Now, I've got a really good way of prioritizing these days, which I can teach you if you want. But it's basically, there's 3 pillars of business for me, like three main departments. There's lots of departments, but there's lots of departments like finance, bookkeeping, and all those are kind of necessary. But all those are almost like ancillary if you don't get the main 3 right. So the main 3 areas for me are marketing, sales, service, delivery. And then the most important is service delivery. So when you get a client, servicing that client and making sure they have the best possible experience ever, and then ask them what the experience has been like, because that might even still be a different experience to what you thought that you were delivering. So you've got to have your data. You've got to have your data, your daily metrics, your KPIs, your key performance indicators for yourself and for your business as well. And you may get, and it may be a limiting belief. I'm not going to, necessarily dictate. Don't want to dictate to you what you're thinking or what you're feeling as you're watching this video. But you may have just had a thought right now when I've said, "Oh, daily metrics, plan tomorrow today." Oh, Michael, I don't want to be a robot though. I want to have a life. But the thing is, just you can take it to whatever extreme you want. What I'm saying, you can really meticulously plan every 7.5 minutes in your day and make sure it gets done, and kind of really micromanage yourself. Or you can just write down 3 things that are non-negotiable that you'd need to do every day. So You can start doing it now. If you're not doing planning, one of my old mentors said, one of my old business coaches said to me, Michael, you've got to get your planning muscle working. You've got to get your planning muscle working. And it's like, if you're not doing planning, you're not doing strategic, tactical, operational planning, then it might be foreign to you. It might feel uncomfortable because you're in your comfort zone. You're in your comfort zone. So when you're in your comfort zone and you want to do, you know you need to do something, you want to level up, but then you need to do something else, then it feels uncomfortable because it's just foreign to you. It's just not something that you're used to doing. So you have to exert some energy to do something different. And it all comes back to that. Look, really analyze what you've been doing. A lot of people don't know how to make more money. They could not articulate or write down on paper or even speak how they could do things differently. So the average wage in the UK is 35 grand a year, something like that. A lot of people could not articulate how to make more money than that, even though every year they get the 2% pay rise or whatever it is, and you know they do want to make more money, but all they can think of doing is spending more time doing it. So it is true that, you know, if you've got a 9-well-5, which is really an 8-well-6, because you've got to travel there and get into that mode, and maybe there's a culture in the business you work in, and you've got to be first one in and last one out, or it's frowned upon, and maybe you have got to put in those hours that you're not getting paid for as well, which is even worse. And I would say, wow, work the hours that you're getting paid. And yeah, you know, if you wanted to get that promotion, you can put the extra time in, but just get a way of working more efficiently. It's, I mean, in some of these managerial jobs in the corporate world, it's kind of this culture to really work late, and you've got too many deadlines, and they're really stacking you out with work and stuff like that. But just find a way to work more efficiently in the hours that you're getting paid, is what I have done. You know, so I'm not just saying it without any experience, but that's what I've done. Is find efficient ways of working, and then when you get home, if you want to get out of that kind of rat race, yeah, then 2 hours every evening, Monday to Friday. Yeah. Step one is commit to do it. Say that you're going to do it. Write it down. I'm going to spend 2 hours starting some kind of business. I am not a believer in quitting your job without having at least got your business to the same level as your job. I would say get to double revenue what your job is, because you've got more costs as a business, and you need like a bit of a war chest really to weather the storm. But I would say really spend, if you can part time, and this is the thing. So we're a lot of jobs, like I said earlier. When I had a job, a lot of the people around me, and no disrespect to anybody, were productive for 2 hours in a 7-8 hour shift, and I think they were probably pacing themselves or something like that, because you know, it's kind of, you kind of scrutinise how many sick days they take, and you only got so many holiday days and all that kind of thing. A lot of people spend the weekend recovering for Monday, you know, so they'll work you know, like crazy Monday to Friday, and then they'll spend the weekend kind of recuperating or drinking, or, you know, whatever people do, and then, but the thing is, what I would say is contain what you're doing within the 9-well-5 or the 8-well-6 or whatever, because you've got the travel time, but then 2 hours a day, 2 hours of deep work. I'm talking deep work here. Really, get a timer like this. Get a timer. You can set this to, it does 100 minutes. It does like 100 minutes, yeah, which is an hour and 40 minutes, yeah. So set a timer like this. Get the, I recommend the Time Block Planner. So get the Time Block Planner by, is it Cal Newport? Cal Newport? Is it Cal Newport? I think it is. Yeah. Oh yeah, Cal Newport. So it's the Time Block Planner by Cal Newport. Not sure how well that's showing on camera. And when you get home, and you've done everything you need to do, so put the kids to bed, all that kind of thing. Or if you don't have kids, just get straight into it. Maybe have something to eat or something, and then get into it. So I'm going to spend 2 hours doing a business plan. That's first thing to do. Some people say don't do a business plan. I'm a big believer in doing a business plan, even though it never goes to plan. But it's the writing something down. This is the thing with business. It's thought in your head, write it down, implement. That's it. And then iterate as you go along. That's why the business plan, you never actually stick to the business plan. It's a living, breathing document. That's one of the ways that you can stay motivated. So, so how to stay motivated when you feel like giving up. Refer to the plan. What did I say we're going to do? And then making a commitment to yourself and not letting yourself down. Because if you let yourself down, how can you be trusted or credible or reliable to clients? So you're going to get a client and then let them down. So why would you let yourself down? Are you going to let your family down? So it's making a commitment to yourself, and then I would sign it as well. Look, I'm going to start a business. I've got a 915. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to work on it 2 hours a day. If I feel ill that day, if I'm really tired, then look, I'm gonna do that on a Saturday morning instead. I'm going to make that time up. I've got to make that time up. This is the thing. When you've got a job, you can have sick days, and then somebody else might do that work as well. It depends on what level you're at. Maybe not. But if there's resilience in the organisation, then somebody else could pick up that job. Yeah, and then you come back, and then you're not going to have. You might have a mountain or a pile of paperwork or jobs when you get back. If nobody's picked it up, but a lot of the time you've got resilience, so somebody else can maybe pick that up. Not always true. I know you might be able to pick that apart unpack that in the comments a little bit more if you want to drop me a comment. Has that been your experience? But with a business, when you're spinning lots of plates, when you're wearing multiple hats and stuff like that, you have a sick day, you have still got the work to do. That work's got to be done. Now, when you build a team, then you've got resilience. Then other people, you've got some redundancy, so other people can do some things. But a lot of the time, you start a business, you're doing it all, man. So if you have a day off, you are coming back to the same work, if not more work, and whatnot. So how do you stay motivated when you feel like giving up? Start planning. Get your sleep. Get your diet right. If you've got the munchies, you want to have the chocolate bars, then look, you've got to remember that instant gratification usually always leads to long-term pain. So anything that's short-term gain, long-term pain. Short-term pain, long-term gain. Yeah, and I'm not saying like be in pain or anything like that, but being in discomfort, doing the things that to come out of your comfort zone, that you don't want to do, in the business. So I've got to pick up the phone and make these cold calls, right? I've got to make these phone calls. Nobody else is going to do it in the business. In fact, I've got 90 minutes worth of cold calling to do today. 90 minutes of cold calling. When you're doing it, it's a long time. When you've been doing it, well, if you do it for 100 days, if you do it for like 90 odd days, 3 months or whatever, 100 days, it doesn't feel as bad because you get used to it, because you come out your comfort zone, and then you do it again and again. It becomes an habit, and then you become used to it. So it's habitual. An habit is formed by doing something, yeah? So what at first felt uncomfortable becomes the new normal. And then what you've got to do is then you can keep doing that thing, or you can do some more uncomfortable work, as in designing a system for other people to work with in doing that thing. Because now you've got your KPIs and metrics and stuff like that, because you know what you can do. So then you think, right, I'll create a system for somebody else to work within, and that is a job in itself. That is something that, you know, you might not be used to, or you might be able to get somebody else to come and help you with, or something like that. So business is system building. It's building in general. It's building a company, and you can either help to build somebody else's dream, as they say, or you can build your own dream. And that is one of the things when you're feeling that there's no hope, because are you feeling kind of fed up in your business. Just remember that if you're putting in the inputs, and you've got to be putting in the inputs to follow what I'm saying. You can't just do no work. There's no such thing as passive income. There is such thing as passive income, but with what I'm talking about, we starting a company and growing a company, you can't be passive. I've known guys who've set people on and then relaxed. I'm a big CEO now, and they've just been making like 300 grand a year. It's not being enough, and no disrespect to anybody who does that, but it's a mistake, and I've seen it all unfold for people who just set people on and then, oh yeah, that's it. No, you've got to work, and then people will say, well, I can just work a few hours a day. No, you're going to work a lot as a business. It's not working 2 hours a day or anything like that. You're going to work a lot. You're going to put the hours in. And I'm not saying put the hours in every day. You're going to have some balance. You're definitely going to have some balance, because you're going to have to look after yourself. Because we're human beings, we've got a certain capacity, and you'll find that balance. You'll listen to your body, and if you're in a good routine, you'll be not being a busy fool. Busy fool is, look, this idea of busy fool, and this is one of the things that can get you into the trap of wanting to give up on the business or on your job or whatever. It's where you're doing the same thing and you're the kind of person who doesn't want to do the same thing. Some people want to do the same thing, and that's fine. People are different horses for courses. But people like me, and perhaps you, because you're still watching this video, and I thank you for sticking with it this long. We need to be challenged, because we know that in the challenge, that's where you've got the growth. And I believe that being a human being is about challenge and growth, and then looking for the good and looking for the lesson. What's the lesson in the challenge? And the thing is, in life, bad things happen. Bad things will happen. Unfortunately, things will go wrong. You'll get setbacks and stuff like that. There's something called the terror barrier, where you're pushing through in business. Sandy Gallagher talks about this. You're pushing through in business, and you get these kind of things going. Have you ever been like putting inputs in, and then something like a sequence of things seem to be against you, like the universe is against you, like pushing back. You've got to push through that, but you push through using power, not force. So this is one of the other things. So this stuff is kind of simple and complex at the same time. Look, it's all about fundamentally getting enough sleep, planning tomorrow today, working on the right things, trimming the fat, not working on the things that are going to be bad habits, basically. Not drinking, not smoking, not doing drugs, eating healthy, working out. Everything you've heard before is true. But you're just gonna, if you want to change, and I don't know who you are who's watching this, but it's going to be about becoming more of a well-oiled machine, and every aspect of the life has got to be working in clockwork, and it's been a stoic, resilient, person who plans ahead, a chess grandmaster thinking so many moves ahead. Yesterday I had a setback. Yesterday morning, I'll tell you about it. I can't go into detail, but I had a setback, and it resulted in something that my younger self would have. It would have set me back for a while. It would have been, you know, it would have upset me. But for this, I'm not even thinking about it today, and I contained it, and I put it in perspective with the grand scheme of things. So this is the advice as somebody in the 40s. We can make mountains out of molehills about things, especially when it comes to money. Money can be produced almost like when you learn how to do it. It's almost like easier than you think. If you solve a problem, if you can speak to somebody, if you can speak to a business that's making a few £1,000,000, and you can solve a problem that makes them another 100 grand, you can literally justify your fees of, I don't know, 5-10 grand or whatever it is. They'll give you 5 or 10% of that, no problem, if you can solve a problem. And that's what we're doing in business, really. So whichever way you looked at that, that's what, as a marketer, that's what I do. So it's what it all boils down to is, and I'll leave you with this thought as well. When you feel like giving up, it is literally, like I said before, about not having faith that it'll work. So, and sometimes it's the self-sabotage thing. It's you can get to another level. You can get to the next level, and then you think, oh, I'm comfortable here. I'm not going to push. But if you're not growing, you are declining. So that's one thing. Understanding there's an abundance of opportunity out there. So if you don't get one thing, one contract in, there's going to be 10 others. And remember as well that when you say yes to one thing and it's not a good fit, that can be worse than not doing anything at all. That can be, start to say no to things. Start to say no to most things, really, because a lot of business failure is about saying yes too much. Actually, it's saying yes to too much stuff. So you're better off having. I would say you only want good clients. You don't want any of the toxic ones. You don't want any clients actually that This is nuanced, but what I'm about to say is, if you're a bit like me and you're kind of working very closely with clients, you got to be very careful about who you're working with, because if they've got a different perspective and they don't see things quite like you do, then that can have a bad effect, because you're spending time with those clients as well. So I'll leave you with that thought anyway. But yeah, big long video to kind of unpack this topic. Lots of stuff in there. I hope you got something out of it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time.